At 4 a.m., I rushed my pregnant wife to the hospital. Within minutes, HOA Karen booted my car, demanding $850 while my premature baby fought for life in NICU. She called me entitled, and laughed as they towed my car. She had no idea I was the governor. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. My name is Michael Chin and I am the governor of our state. But on that cold November morning at 4 a.m., I was just a terrified husband rushing my pregnant wife to the hospital. Sarah woke me up, her face pale and twisted in pain. "Michael, something's wrong," she whispered, clutching her swollen belly. Our baby wasn't due for another month, but the contractions were coming fast and violent. I grabbed our hospital bag with shaking hands and helped her to the car. Every second felt like an hour. Sarah was crying softly, scared for our first child. Her whole body trembled as another contraction hit. "Hold on, honey. We're almost there," I said, my voice cracking with fear. When we reached St. Mary's Hospital, I pulled into the first parking spot near the emergency entrance. It was marked for emergency vehicles, but my wife was in agony. I couldn't make her walk from the far parking lot. She could barely stand. 2 nurses saw us struggling and rushed over with a wheelchair. "Sir, we'll take care of her," one said kindly. They wheeled Sarah inside quickly while I grabbed our bag. I was about to follow them when a sharp voice cut through the morning air. "Excuse me. You cannot park there." I turned to see a woman in her late 50s marching toward me. She wore a bright yellow vest that said Oakwood HOA Parking Enforcement, and carried a clipboard like it was a weapon. Her face was twisted in anger. "I'm sorry, my wife is having an emergency," I said quickly, already moving toward the entrance. "I'll move it as soon as she's settled." "No, you will move it now," she shouted, stepping in front of me. "This is an emergency vehicle spot. Can't you read? People like you think rules don't apply to them." Through the glass doors, I could see Sarah being rushed down a hallway. My heart pounded in my chest. "Ma'am, please. My wife is pregnant and in severe pain. I just need to." "I don't care about your excuses," she snapped. Her name tag read, Patricia Morrison, HOA President. She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling a tow truck right now. And I'm putting a boot on your vehicle." "A boot? Are you serious?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "This is a hospital. My wife needs me." "Should have thought about that before you broke the rules," Patricia said with a cruel smile. She was already dialing. "Hi, Jerry. Patricia Morrison from Oakwood HOA. I need you at St. Mary's Hospital right away. Some entitled jerk thinks he owns the place." Inside the hospital, someone called my name urgently. "Mr. Chin, we need you right now." My blood ran cold. I looked at Patricia, then at the hospital doors. There was no choice. I ran inside, leaving her standing by my car with her phone and her clipboard and her smug expression. A doctor in blue scrubs was waiting, her face grave. "Mr. Chin, your wife's blood pressure is dangerously high. We need to do an emergency C-section immediately. She's asking for you." I followed her through endless corridors to the operating room. Sarah was on the table, tears streaming down her terrified face. "Michael," she sobbed. "I'm so scared. Is the baby going to be okay?" I squeezed her hand, trying to be strong even though I was terrified too. "Everything will be fine. You're the strongest person I know." The next hour was the longest of my life. I stood by Sarah's side, holding her hand, whispering encouragement while the doctors worked frantically. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. Finally I heard it, a tiny, weak cry. Our daughter. Emma Grace Chin entered the world 1 month early, small and struggling. "Is she okay?" Sarah asked weakly. Before I could answer, the pediatric team rushed Emma away. A neonatologist approached us, his expression serious. "Mr. and Mrs. Chin, your daughter is having breathing difficulties. Her lungs aren't fully developed. We need to take her to the NICU immediately. The next 48 hours are critical." Critical. That word echoed in my head. My baby girl was fighting for her life. They wheeled Sarah to recovery and I sat in the hallway, my head in my hands. I needed to call our families, but my phone was still in the car. The car. Patricia Morrison. The boot. I ran back down to the parking lot. When I reached the spot, I stopped dead. My car was locked in place with a massive yellow boot clamped on the front wheel. A $500 ticket was attached to the windshield for unauthorized parking in an emergency zone. Patricia Morrison was still there, sitting in her car, watching. When she saw me, she got out with that same cruel smile. Well, come to move your car? Too late now. That'll be $500 for the fine, plus $200 for the boot removal, plus $150 for the tow truck. He should be here any minute. I stared at her in disbelief. My daughter was just born. She's in the NICU fighting for her life. I need my phone to call our family. Not my problem, Patricia said coldly. You should have thought about your family before you parked illegally. This is a hospital. I shouted. People have emergencies here. Rules are rules, she said simply. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, or the president. Everyone follows the same rules in my jurisdiction. She pulled out a laminated card. Oakwood HOA has a contract with this hospital to manage parking enforcement. I've been president for 12 years. Nobody challenges me and wins. Please, I begged. Just let me get my phone. I'll pay whatever fines you want. Cash only, Patricia said. You got $850 in cash right now? Of course I didn't. I can get it later today. I just need my phone now. No phone until the fines are paid. Your car is evidence of a violation. The tow truck arrived. A man in coveralls got out and nodded at Patricia. This the one? He asked. That's the one, Jerry. Take it to the impound. I watched in horror as he attached chains to my car. Wait, how am I supposed to get home? We have a car seat for the baby in there. Not my problem, Patricia repeated. There's a taxi stand 2 blocks away. Have a nice day, Mr. Chin. Welcome to parenthood. She drove away, leaving me standing alone in the cold morning, my phone and baby's car seat gone, while upstairs my newborn daughter fought for every breath. I borrowed a phone at the hospital desk and called our families. My mother gasped when I told her about the NICU. We're coming right now, she said. A kind nurse gave me $100 when she heard what happened. Don't worry about paying me back. Take care of your family. I wanted to cry at her kindness after Patricia's cruelty. When I finally got to see Emma through the NICU glass, my heart broke. She was so tiny, hooked up to wires and tubes, a breathing mask on her precious face. She looked so fragile, so small, so helpless. A doctor explained that Emma's premature lungs were struggling. She was working very hard to breathe. The next 48 hours would determine everything. I sat by her incubator for hours, whispering to her. Hey baby girl, it's Daddy. You need to keep fighting, okay? Your mom and I love you so much. But you have to stay strong for us. Each breath looked like hard work for her tiny body. I wanted to take all her pain into myself. I would have given anything to trade places with her. Sarah was finally wheeled to the NICU that evening. When she saw Emma in that incubator, she broke down completely. She's so small, Sarah sobbed. She's so small and I can't even hold her. We could only touch Emma through the incubator openings. When Sarah's finger touched Emma's tiny hand, our daughter's fingers wrapped around it. We both started crying. She knows you, I whispered. She knows her mommy. That night was the worst of my life. I stayed in the NICU watching Emma fight, praying harder than I ever had. Please God, let her breathe. Please let her be okay. My father paid $850 to get our car out of impound. When my chief of staff Rebecca heard what happened, she started investigating. Governor, you need to see this, she said, handing me a folder. Inside were documents showing that the Oakwood HOA's parking contract with the hospital had expired 6 months ago. Patricia Morrison had no legal authority to enforce parking. She was running an illegal operation. But it got worse. Rebecca had found dozens of complaints. Parents ticketed while bringing sick children to the emergency room. A man whose wife was having a heart attack who got booted. An ambulance driver threatened with a fine. All by Patricia Morrison. She's been doing this for years, Rebecca said quietly. She's made hundreds of thousands of dollars from illegal fines. The hospital doesn't even know the contract expired. I read those heartbreaking complaint letters. A mother who missed her daughter's surgery because of Patricia's parking fine. A father who couldn't afford the boot removal and had to take the bus home while his son was in the ICU. Patricia Morrison had been terrorizing vulnerable people at their most desperate moments. And getting rich from it. Get me everything, I said. Every complaint, every fine. Get me the hospital's legal team and the state attorney general. Get me Patricia Morrison's complete file. But before I could think about justice, Emma had to survive. On the 3rd day, Emma's condition worsened. She had developed an infection. The doctors gathered us for a meeting. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, the lead neonatologist said gently, Emma's immune system is weak because she was premature. We're starting strong antibiotics, but the next 24 hours will determine everything. Sarah grabbed my hand so tight her nails drew blood. Is she going to die? The doctor couldn't meet our eyes. We're doing everything we can. She's a fighter. But I can't make promises. My world shattered. Our beautiful Emma, who we had dreamed about for 9 months, might not make it to her first week of life. Sarah and I held each other and cried. Our parents sat with us in silence because there were no words. I went to the hospital chapel and got on my knees. Please, I whispered to God. She's innocent. She's perfect. Please don't take her away from us. That night, I sat by Emma's incubator, reached through and touched her tiny hand. You have to fight, Emma. I know you're tired and it's hard, but you have to keep fighting. Your mom needs you. I need you. We have a whole life planned for you. Emma's fingers twitched. Her eyes moved behind closed lids. She was fighting. That's my girl, I whispered through my tears. That's my strong, brave girl. On the 4th day, while Emma was still critical, a reporter showed up at the hospital. Security stopped him, but he called out when he saw me. Governor Chen, can you comment on reports that you were illegally extorted in the hospital parking lot while your wife was in labor? The story had leaked. Patricia Morrison was claiming I tried to use my position to avoid a legitimate parking fine. I looked at the camera and thought about all the other families Patricia had victimized. My daughter is fighting for her life right now, I said quietly but clearly. And yes, while my wife was in premature labor, Patricia Morrison not only ticketed my vehicle but had it booted and towed, charging illegal fees under an expired contract. She has been doing this to countless families during their most vulnerable moments. There will be a full investigation. The story exploded. Within hours, it was on every news station. People were outraged. The hospital's phone lines flooded with complaints. Other victims started coming forward. A woman named Jennifer Martinez told how Patricia had her car towed while her 5-year-old son was having an asthma attack. A man named David Thompson missed his father's last moments because of a parking boot. Dozens of stories. All the same theme. Patricia Morrison terrorizing families at their most desperate moments and profiting from their pain. On the 5th day, Emma turned a corner. The antibiotics started working. Her breathing improved. On the 6th day, they removed some breathing tubes. Sarah got to hold her for the first time. I watched my wife cradle our tiny daughter, both crying, and felt my heart would explode with love and relief. She's going to make it, the doctor said with a smile. Your daughter is incredibly strong. Over the next weeks, Emma continued improving. She started eating. She gained weight. Her color got better. The doctor said we could take her home soon. Those weeks in the NICU were hard but beautiful. We fell in love with our daughter more every single day. And through it all, the investigation into Patricia Morrison continued. The state attorney general opened a criminal investigation. The hospital terminated the parking contract immediately and issued a public apology. Then the real bombshell came. Investigators found evidence of systematic fraud. Patricia had been pocketing most of the illegal parking fees herself, reporting only a small percentage to the HOA board. She had made over $400,000 in 5 years. She was arrested and charged with extortion, fraud, operating without a license, and a dozen other crimes. The news showed her being led out of her house in handcuffs, her face red with anger and humiliation. The Oakwood HOA board immediately removed her as president and agreed to refund every penny of illegal parking fees. But I wasn't satisfied with just that. As governor, I had the power to do more. I worked with the legislature to pass Emma's Law. Legislation making it illegal for any private entity to enforce parking at medical facilities during emergencies. It established clear protections for patients and families. Any violation would result in immediate criminal charges and massive fines. The bill passed unanimously. At the bill signing, I held Emma in my arms. She was 2 months old now, healthy and beautiful. This law is named after my daughter, Emma Grace Chen, I said to the cameras. She fought for her life while her mother and I fought to be by her side. No family should ever face what we faced. No parent should ever be extorted during a medical emergency. Emma's Law ensures that never happens again. The room erupted in applause. Sarah stood beside me, tears in her eyes, proud and strong. Later that day, the Attorney General called. Governor, Patricia Morrison just pled guilty to all charges. She's facing 15 years in prison and full restitution to all victims. 15 years? The judge said her crimes were uniquely cruel because she targeted people at their most vulnerable. She'll never serve on any HOA board again. I thought about Patricia standing in that parking lot, smiling cruelly as my car was towed while my daughter fought for life upstairs. Good, I said simply. Justice is served. 6 months later, Sarah and I stood in Emma's nursery at home, watching her sleep peacefully in her crib. No tubes. No monitors. Just our baby girl safe and sound. I still can't believe she's ours, Sarah whispered. I can't believe how strong she is, I replied. Emma had grown from that tiny fragile baby into this healthy, chubby, smiling little girl. She had her mother's eyes and my stubborn determination. The story of Patricia Morrison had faded from the news, but the impact remained. Emma's law had been adopted by 3 other states. Hospitals nationwide had reformed their parking policies. The families Patricia victimized all got their money back. The community that had been hurt by her cruelty had come together and healed. Patricia herself was in prison, serving her sentence. I didn't think about her often. She wasn't worth my energy. My focus was on my family. On Sarah, who had been incredibly strong through everything. On Emma, who had fought her way into this world and refused to give up. Do you ever think about that day? Sarah asked quietly. The day she was born? Every day, I admitted. But not the bad parts. I think about how brave you were. How strong Emma was. Patricia Morrison tried to break us, Sarah said softly. But she failed, I said, wrapping my arm around my wife. She failed because we're stronger than her cruelty. And Emma's stronger than anything. Sarah leaned her head on my shoulder. You know what I think about? The nurse who lent you money. The staff who took such care of Emma. Your parents helping us. All the people who showed us kindness when we needed it most. Patricia was one cruel person. But we were surrounded by dozens of kind ones. That's what I choose to remember. Emma made a little sound in her sleep and we moved closer to her crib. She was perfect. Absolutely perfect. I hope she never has to know there are people like Patricia Morrison in the world, Sarah said. She'll know eventually, I said. But we'll teach her that for every person who tries to tear you down, there are 10 more who will lift you up. We'll teach her to be strong and kind and to fight for what's right. We stood there in the soft glow of the nightlight and I felt more grateful than I ever had. Patricia Morrison had tried to ruin us. She had chosen the absolute worst moment to exercise her petty power. But she had picked the wrong family. Not because I was the governor, but because I was Emma's father. And there is nothing more powerful than a parent's love for their child. On Emma's first birthday we threw a big party. The house filled with family, friends, colorful balloons and laughter. Emma sat in her high chair, chocolate cake smeared all over her face, giggling as everyone sang happy birthday. I looked around at all these people who loved our daughter and felt overwhelming gratitude. Later my father pulled me aside. I have something to tell you. I got a letter today from Patricia Morrison. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Governor Chin, I know you don't want to hear from me. I don't deserve your time. But I need to say this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did to you and your wife on the worst day of your lives. I'm sorry for all the other families I hurt. I was drunk on power and convinced myself that enforcing rules was more important than showing compassion. I was wrong. So terribly wrong. Prison has given me time to think. I was angry at the world and I took it out on people who were already suffering. I convinced myself I was important. But I was just cruel. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I think about what I did every day. I think about your daughter fighting for her life while I worried about a parking spot. Your daughter is 1 year old now. I saw it in the news. I'm glad she's healthy and happy. I hope you can find peace, even if you can never forgive me. Patricia Morrison. I read it twice then handed it back to my father. What do you think I should do? That's up to you, son. I thought about Patricia sitting in her cell, writing this letter. Then I looked at Emma being held by her grandmother, laughing and clapping. No, I said finally. I don't need to respond. She made her choices. She's facing the consequences. That's enough. My father nodded. Don't let her live in your head rent-free. You won, son. Your family is happy and healthy. Patricia is in prison. Emma's law is protecting families. You got justice. Now let it go and enjoy your life. He was right. It was time to let go of the anger. Thanks, Dad. I went back to the party. Emma saw me and reached her chubby arms out. I scooped her up and she immediately grabbed my nose with sticky fingers. Dada, she said clearly, her actual first word. Sarah gasped. Did she just? Dada. Emma repeated, grinning proudly. Everyone cheered. Sarah pretended to be offended. Really, Emma? After I carried you for 9 months. Emma just laughed and said it again. Dada. Dada. I held her close, this miracle baby who had fought so hard to be here and felt tears in my eyes. Happy tears this time. I love you, Emma Grace Chin, I whispered. More than anything in this world. She grabbed my face with both hands and gave me a wet, chocolatey kiss on the cheek. That night, after all the guests left and Emma was asleep, Sarah and I sat on the couch together. "Best birthday party ever," Sarah said. "She'll never remember it." "But we will," Sarah said firmly. "We'll remember everything about this first year. The good and the bad. And look at where we are now. We survived the hard parts, Michael. We came out stronger." "You're right. And because of what happened to us, other families won't have to go through the same thing. Emma's law is protecting people. Your daughter changed the world before she could even walk." I smiled. "She's pretty amazing." "She gets it from her parents," Sarah said, kissing me softly. We sat in comfortable silence. Then Sarah spoke quietly. "I forgive her, you know, Patricia. I've been thinking about it. She did a terrible thing. But holding on to anger isn't hurting her, it's hurting me. So I forgive her. Not for her sake but for mine. So I can move on completely." I thought about the letter. I think I can forgive her too. Not forget, I'll never forget. But forgive. Let it go. Move forward. "We have too much good in our lives to waste energy on hate," Sarah said. She was absolutely right. Emma was healthy and happy. Our marriage was stronger than ever. We had amazing family and friends. We had everything that mattered. Patricia Morrison had tried to ruin the most important day of our lives. She had tried to profit from our pain. But she had failed to break us. And now she was just a footnote in our story, a dark moment we had overcome. Our story wasn't about her. It was about Emma. About our family. About love and strength and resilience. "Come on," Sarah said, standing and taking my hand. "Let's look at our girl one more time." We tiptoed into Emma's room. She was sleeping peacefully, her favorite stuffed bunny in her arms. The nightlight cast a soft glow over her beautiful face. "Happy birthday, baby girl," Sarah whispered, gently touching Emma's hand. I bent down and kissed her forehead. "We love you so much, Emma. More than you'll ever know." Emma sighed in her sleep, a soft, contented sound that filled my heart with pure joy. We stood there for a few more minutes, just watching her breathe easily, sleep peacefully, exist beautifully in this world. Then we quietly left, leaving the door cracked so we could hear her if she needed us. Because that's what parents do. We stay close. We protect our children from anything and anyone who would harm them. Patricia Morrison had learned that lesson the hard way. You don't mess with someone's family. You don't victimize people at their most vulnerable moments. You don't mistake petty authority for real power. And you especially don't do those things when the person you're hurting is the governor of the state. But more importantly, you don't do those things because it's wrong. Because it's cruel. Because we're supposed to help each other, especially during emergencies. That's the lesson I wanted Emma to learn. Not that her father was powerful enough to get revenge. But that we should always choose kindness over cruelty, compassion over rigid rules, humanity over authority. Emma's law wasn't really about parking regulations. It was about enshrining those values into law. It was about saying that when someone is rushing to help a loved one in crisis, that's when we show the most grace, not the least. Patricia Morrison had shown the least grace at our most desperate moment. And it had cost her everything. But we weren't going to let her mistake define us. We were going to let Emma define us. Our brave, beautiful, perfect daughter who had fought to be here and who would grow up surrounded by love. I dreamed about Emma's future that night. Her first day of school, her graduation, her wedding. Her becoming whoever she wanted to be, strong and kind and brave. And when people asked her about her name, about Emma's law, she would tell them with pride. Not as a story about revenge or power, but as a story about a family that refused to be broken, that turned pain into purpose, that changed the world for the better. When I woke up the next morning, Emma was already awake, babbling happily in her crib. I went to get her and she smiled when she saw me. "Dada," she said joyfully. "That's right, sweetheart," I said, picking her up. "Daddy's here. Daddy's always going to be here." And I meant it with every fiber of my being. Patricia Morrison had tried to keep me from my family when they needed me most. She had failed then and would never get another chance. Because now I knew what really mattered. Not power or position or getting revenge. What mattered was this, holding my daughter in the morning light, hearing her laugh, feeling her little arms around my neck. What mattered was family. Well, being there for the people who need you. Everything else was just noise. Emma grabbed my face with both hands and looked into my eyes with her beautiful, innocent gaze. In that moment I felt complete peace. We had been through hell and come out the other side. We had faced cruelty and responded with justice. We had nearly lost everything and came away with what truly mattered. Sarah joined us, wrapping her arms around both of us. We stood there as a family, complete and whole and happy. Outside, Patricia Morrison sat in prison, paying for her crimes. Families across the country were protected by Emma's law. Justice had been served. But inside Emma's nursery, none of that really mattered. What mattered was this perfect moment with my wife and daughter. Patricia had tried to take this from us. She had tried to ruin the day our daughter was born. She had tried to profit from our pain. She had failed completely. Because here we were, stronger than ever. Emma was healthy and thriving. Sarah had recovered beautifully. Our family was unbreakable. "I love you both so much," I whispered. "We love you too," Sarah said, kissing Emma's head, then mine. Emma just babbled happily, completely unaware that she had changed the world just by being born. Unaware that laws had been passed in her name. Unaware that her story had inspired thousands. All she knew was that she was loved. And really, that was all that mattered.